One. So, first of all, some important announcements concerning the calendar of the course. As I wrote you on the Telegram group, okay, last Friday we didn't have the lab because there was the Salón del Orientamento, and next Friday we have holidays, so we will be missing also that lab. For the one that we lost last week, tomorrow, on the same class hour in the same classroom, we will devote the 3 hours to the lab. So if you want to come at the 8:30 and stay there until 11:30, it's super fine. You can come and you can do the lab. I want to devote a lot of time for this lab because it is Flask, and as I have told you several times, it is like a fundamental topic, and if everything goes fine with Flask, basically the course will be fine. So that's why tomorrow I'm willing to devote the 3 hours to completing this lab. Of course, I will be there, and there will be also Valentina, so if you have any questions or any doubts, we can solve it all together. So I recommend you to come to this lab tomorrow. Then we have the Easter holidays, so we will be missing Friday's lab. I've not decided yet, but I might be thinking of doing something similar as we did this week, so that the lab that we will lose here, we will take it on Tuesday. I'm still deciding if doing that lab on Monday, so it will be just an hour and a half, or if I will do it on Tuesday, and in that case we will have 3 hours. Maybe the best option is on Tuesday, because as I told you, I want to devote a lot of time for this. So I don't mind if we spend time doing practically trying to learn everything, so that I'm sure that you are completely fine with Flask. So maybe the best option is to do it on Tuesday. But I have to check with the other topics and with the other things that we have to do on the course. So I will communicate tomorrow at last which day we will use for the next lab. Okay, are we fine? Anyway, I published the text like last Tuesday if anyone wanted to start working, and I will publish the solution for this one next Tuesday, okay, as usual. Nice. So okay, so let's get back to our code, to what we were doing the last time. So I don't know if you remember that the last thing that we were able to do with Flask was the one concerning the inheritance, in which we created the base file. Do you remember what was the base file for, or why was it useful?
When you need to use the same structure for multiple pages, you have a base file, and then you can specify the block in the specific.
Sure. Basically, when we want to reuse a portion of the website across different pages. Okay, so in this case, let's run our application and let's see where did it make sense. So in our case, we basically identified that this portion of the website that included the header, this sign in and register button, and the navbar, it was basically common to all of the pages. So independently, if I'm here or if I click on find a tutor and I go to a different page, this portion of the website remains the same. Okay. And we also decided that the footer remained the same. No? So are the two portions of the website that are common to all of the pages, independently if I am on the landing page or if I am in the tutor page. So before knowing how the inheritance worked, what we had to do was always copy pasting all of the page, and then at some point of the page, changing the content. Now that we know that how the inheritance works, what we basically do is we create this base.html file in this base.html file, we basically insert all of the common portion of the website, the common HTML or the HTML that will be common to all of the pages. And the magic occurs here. Where at some point I define this block. No? If you take a look at this, sorry. If you take a look at this portion of the file, you can see that it is Jinja, something written in the Jinja syntax. How do we know it is written in this Jinja syntax? Because it has the curly brackets, it has the percentage. And here I basically declare that I'm expecting in this portion of the website, in this portion of the HTML, to have a block that I called content. And then it is a block that someone that inherits this base file could fill, or is intended for someone to fill at that point, okay? So here I define this block content, and maybe we defined another one. No, just that one, okay? So this is like, I mean, all of these files are templates, but this is like the structure template, okay? The one in which I define the components that will be common across all the pages. And then what happens in the pages that inherits this base.html? What do I do in that pages? I basically declare that I'm extending the base.html. And then do you remember that at in the base, I declared this block? So I declare that in here, within that block, I fill with the content I want to insert in that block when this page is open, okay? So when the index is open, I want the block content to have all of this information. Instead, when the same block content is open, but from the tutor page, I want it to show the tutor name, okay? And when it is open from the tutor's web page, I want that the block content is filled with this HTML that I'm declaring here, okay? Is it clear? Questions? Okay, if it is clear, let's take a look at what I will do now, and then you explain me what I'm doing and why it works, okay? So I'm here in the base.html, and pay attention to what I'm going to do here. And so this is the nav. No, sorry. This is the nav bar, right? The one here. Here stand in the nav bar. That is this one, okay? So I have find a tutor, history, my favorites, my announcements, and who we are. So let's take a look at this. Let me check. Okay, so up to now, I deleted this class. And as you see, before when there was this class, this one had like a underlined there to show that this one was the active link, okay? So I basically delete this class, and all of them are now the same. And you tell me what I'm doing here. what did I do? And well, let me do another example so that you can maybe more clear see how it works. History, favorites. Oh, indeed, this one should not be here, but this one should be. Okay, so in this case, what happens when I click here and find the tutor?
It makes the link active.
It makes this link active. And what was the strategy to make this link? Then if I get back to the previous page, it is not active anymore because now I'm not in that page, right? So what was the strategy to make this one active?
You added a block that would add active if it is in the tutor page.
Okay, so I added this block that was active home. Indeed, this one should not be called active home, but active tutors, no? And here, instead of active home, I would say active tutors. No, so basically, by adding this block here, I'm saying I want that the files that inherit me can or could have the chance to fill a value or to fill something within this block that I'm declaring. Okay? Why did I declare this block here?
Because the style is a class under Bootstrap to make it active.
Sure, because the style to make active that specific link is a new class that I add to the classes that it had there. So the difference between having a link that is shown as active or a link that doesn't show any underline is basically adding a class, okay? So by taking this strategy, I'm saying I want to declare this block active tutors within the class declaration of this link. And then what I do on the tutors web page is to say, on the block active tutors, fill it with the value active. Okay, so it is like as if I were like inserting this active value within the class declaration. Okay. So if I want to replicate, for instance, the same with history, we still don't have a page that is called history, so let's create that. History. Okay, so here it is not active tutors anymore because I don't want to replace the content of the blog active tutors, but I want to replace the content of the blog active history, right? And I want to replace that block with this value that is still the same, the value active, because I know that the class active is the one that makes the link underlined. This one won't be history. Okay. Will this history page work right now? What do we need to make it work? Implement the root on the app.py. Okay, so you tell me how to implement the root on the app.py. Basically, creating a new root, specifying the URL of the root, and then creating a function associated with that root. That's basically everything. So let's create it here. So instead of tutors, we call history. Okay, so if this is fine, if this works, what should happen is that now if in my application I write this URL in the browser, then the page will render me the history.html. So let's see if it works. Okay, yeah, it shows my history. That was what I wrote in that specific page. And then okay, in the base, I will. How do I create a link for that page? Do you remember the syntax for creating a link for that page, or what was the function that we used to create a link to a page now that we are using Flask? URL4, sure. So the same as here. We replace this href of history. And what do I write here? Instead of tutors? History, right? Why history? Because it's the name of the function, okay? So just a quick precision here. It is the name of the function, the one that we reference. It's not the name of the URL, but the name of the function. So even if in this case it was history, like here, my history, but the function is history, then the reference is done through the name of the function, okay? So here, history. Now let's see if it works. Or, well, let me check. Ah, okay, of course. This one didn't work because we were here pointing at history, and now it doesn't find anything on history because it is now named my history, okay? So we have find a tutor that now when I click it, you can see that the link remains underlined. And now when I click on history, what should happen? Basically the same, but it is not working. Active history, active. Because this style is not applied here on the list element, but it is applied here to the link, okay? No. Okay, this one is applied here. The same as here. It was not applied to the list element, but it was applied to the A element that represents the link. So okay, now it works. No? So here, when I click on Find a Tutor, now the link remains active on Find a Tutor. Now, when I click on History, now it remains active when I click on History. Okay? Is it clear? Is it clear how the inheritance works? Nice. Now our page has one problem, no? That is, we can go to specific portions of the page, but how do we get back to the main page? We don't have any mechanism here to graphically get back to the initial to the landing page, let's say. So, well, which suggestions do you have to fix that error and being able to get back to the landing page? Yeah, one option is, of course, setting the title as a link that gets us to the home page. Okay. To reference using the URL for function. Okay, yeah, that's one option. There, you were going to say something? Him? Ask him. Yeah. Did you have a suggestion? No, there. Yeah. Sure. To make a link here. Or another option would be, yeah, we will do that one. Let's implement that one, and then I will propose my alternative. So here in the header, we have this href that is already a link, but we need to set the link to go always to the home page. Okay. So instead of having it, home is called, okay, because this function is called home, so yeah. So now when I click here, it goes back home, okay? Then another option would be also here in the base.html, or you tell me what I'm doing here, okay? So when I click here, go back, what should happen? I go back to the previous page, okay? This one, though, has one problem, because since I add this link to all of the pages that inherit from this, I'm also adding this link to the landing page, which maybe I don't want that because in the landing page, I don't want, I mean, there is no go back if I am already in the home page. There is also the home option. What do you mean? Like this one. Okay. So yeah, that's a good one. So let's add it here. Okay, but how can we fix this one? Okay, I mean, now here in the footer, when I click home, it always takes us to the home page. And then how do I fix this one so that it is not shown when I'm in the main page? Yeah, but in this case, how would the condition be? If Yeah, something that like display known, but how do we construct the condition in Jinja? Because, for instance, let's see the conditions that we have done so far.
You could use the same way and put a block and have, I'm sure there is a bootstrap property which does display none.
Because one option is to create here a block. Let's consider all the options and then we see. So block, go back, for instance. And then end block. Okay, and here I will go to history, for instance. And do something like this, for instance. Here I should do this on history and on tutors. Let's see if it works. Okay, so now it works because here since we didn't fill out this block for the home page, but we filled this block just for tutors and history, now it is not being shown here in the landing page. Then if I go to find a tutor, it is being displayed. And if I come to history, it is being also displayed. Why? Because I filled this value for those specific pages. Okay, so this is one possible option. I mean, what's the problem with this option? I have to add this block to all of the pages that have go back. So at the end, it is kind of redoing what we were trying to avoid redoing by using the inheritance, no? Because inheritance was to declare something that was common to all of the pages just once, and then for each of the page declare the different aspects. So, well, yeah, that's the issue with this solution.
Can we use like the if block?
Yeah.
With the approach?
Yeah. So let's try with the if block. So let me I think this was the syntax, right? So what do you think we can set here in the if? What question can we do to make sure that we are in the landing page, in the home page? Here.
If not equal to approach
Okay, as for this route, yeah, that might be an option. But I was thinking in this case, for instance, where we are in this root, because I think that from within the function or from within the template, we can't see on which root we are, no? Because at the end, the page is just like the presentation, what the template that is being rendered when you go to a given position. So instead of that, I was thinking here in this, when we are in the home, we know that we have this p-tutors list, no? So maybe the question that we can ask is, if we have a p-tutors list, we know that we are in the home, and then in that case, we don't show the go back link. Otherwise, we show the link, okay?
Maybe it's better to pass a different variable.
Or to create a different variable to, yeah, like a flag to indicate if we are in the home.
Because otherwise, if we want to put the popular tutors on another
Yeah.
page, then
Sure, I was going to say that, yeah. Yeah,
But also, if we are in the final tutor page, we have a list of tutors.
sure, that's, yeah, it's the same, sure. In that case, let's make it work with pip tutors, and then we fix it with the optimal solution, okay? Let me just check the slides.
maybe double equals.
Let me check. Yeah, sorry. Okay, no, because here it wrote this character. Yeah. Okay. Okay, no, it works, sorry. If p-tutors equal how do we write this the opposite? So if no p-tutors in Python syntax, you know more than me. So what's the opposite of if p-tutors? If ptutors is present, then it shows the link. But we want to do the opposite. If
not.
Nice, thank you. No, but in this case, it also deleted this and if.
Maybe better to have another variable.
Let's try to create a different one. Okay, here it works too. So what was the solution here? To create a different variable that is named rwinHome that basically indicates us if we are in that specific route, okay? Basically, it works as a flag. So here, of course, in this route, I define rwinHome as true. In the other routes, I don't have any need to define that, okay? And then the question that I ask when I render the template, so here in the base.html, is if the variable that arrives as a parameter when the template is rendered comes with the true value, don't show the link. In any other case, we show the link. Okay. Yep.
Should we add the same variable to the page?
To the? No, because in the way that we set the question is if we are not in home, add the link. So it will add the link to all of the pages that are different from the home, okay? And the same, if for any reason, I don't have an example in my mind, but if you want to show something just in a specific link, in a specific portion of the page, we use the same approach. We add a flag that indicates us on which route we are, and then from within the template, using Jinja, we can ask using the if block where we are, depending on the flag that is arriving, and depending on that, we can decide to show or to hide some content. Okay? Is it clear? Nice. In some weeks, we will have a lesson that has to do with the usability of the website, okay? So it is not just to make the website working from the technical perspective, but to make it understandable for a final user. So having that kind of hints to show the user where he is at each moment of the page, what are we looking at, to give him some solution to get back to the home, to make the navigability of the website is crucial. So that's why I'm trying to show you how technically we can implement this. And I hope that then when you implement your final solution, you always take in mind that specific points. And that when you are designing your website, you can think, what if I want to go back? I'm giving some strategy or some alternative to a user to get back. Am I giving a link? Does this link works like a button to get back to a homepage? So, well, that's why I'm showing you these functionalities. Questions? Is it clear? Okay. And there is just one final thing that we couldn't pay attention, or that we couldn't devote so much time in the last lesson. That is these dynamic routes. So based on the snippet, what can you infer? How does it work? What it is?
For different privilege for the users.
Yeah, for different, in this example, it is a username, of course, but it might be also something like this, no? So up to now, we are defining like static routes. We are saying if you write tutors, then I will show you the tutors page. If you go to who we are, then I will show you the who we are page. If you write exactly a given string on the browser, on the URL, then I will display you a specific template, okay? But there is also the possibility to create dynamic routes. Why do we want dynamic routes? Because, well, in some cases, we want to create reusable routes in web applications. One typical example is this. Like I have like a user route indicating that in this final portion of the path, I want to specify the username, okay? And that the content that shows below is consistent with that specific username. Or, well, in this case, for instance, I want also in the set of posts to display one specific post, okay? Or one specific tutor in our case. So the dynamic routes basically work that they capture the value that comes from the URL, from the path on the browser, and displaying of that, depending on that, they pass such value to the view functions, and it displays the page according to the specific element. Yeah. It is like the yeah, but up to now we are always using the get method. Just that in this case we are specifying like a parameter. But up to now everything we are doing is get. Okay. With the next topic, that is the forms, we will see which are like the different methods that we have. Because when we are working with forms, it is not get anymore, but post, because we are sending information to the server. But up to now, everything is get. So in this case, they provide flexibility for creating reusable routes. And it specifies the type of value expected in the URL. By default, it is a string, but we can also declare that we want an int to be the value that can be written there. And it expects and also can be a float. Well, and nothing changes, just that in this case, for instance, within the function, when we will link to that function, we must specify this value that we are passing as a parameter, okay? So last time we already implemented it, but here I want to show you in the code how it would work. So here, for instance, we have the 3 tutors. And what we want is that if I click on this one, it will show me his own page, okay? So one specific page for this tutor. Of course, in advance, I can't define a route for this specific tutor because it's dynamic information. When I'm designing the application and when I'm designing the routes, I can't see, or I don't know how many tutors I will have. So that's why I want to create a dynamic route or a dynamic route assigned for each tutor, okay? So in this case, when I click here on learn more, you can see here that it now shows single tutor. That was the route that I defined here. And then after single tutor, you can't see, but I swear it has the number 0. Okay, meaning that it is a dynamic route for that specific tutor that goes with the value 0. Okay, what if instead of 0 I write 1? It will show the second tutor. If I write 3, then it doesn't have anyone. Because it arrives up to 2. That is Alberto, because I have 3 tutors, okay? So it is not like magic, like if I write anything here, it will work. It will work until it makes sense, until it has something to do with what has been declared here, okay? So here I declare that by writing single tutor and then specifying an ID, I will display you the page that corresponds to the tutor whose ID has arrived as a parameter. So I basically take that value that comes from the browser, I use that value as a parameter here, and then I select the tutor here in the list. No? So using that value that arrived from the list, I select the tutor, I pass the tutor to the render template function, and based on the values of the selected tutor, the render template knows how to display the tutor here. So if we open this tutor page, I'm showing the name of the tutor, and I could also display the ptutor surname. Okay. Here I have a question. Do we want this go back link to go to the home, or should it go to the tutors page? It makes more sense if it goes to the tutors page. So for instance, here a good alternative would be using the blocks, for instance. Okay? So the message is there is not just one viable solution, but it depends on the context, it depends on what we want to create. So in this case, for instance, the block alternative or the block approach would work better, okay? Or we can make a mix, no? So on all of the pages that come from the home, we can use with the if. And then in a specific page where we want to get back to a specific link, instead of using that approach, we can use the blocks, or directly adding this value to the directly to the HTML, or maybe another option would be the same as we did here, that was passing a flag indicating if that function, if we were on the home page. Here passing also kind of a flag, but indicating which is the parent, no? So indicating, for instance, that the parent of this one is tutors. And we can use that value and set that value into the link. So go back to tutors. Do you see how it would work? So if, for instance, Um, Okay, did you get what I do? Here in our condition to show the go back button, I added a second condition. If it is not the home, it hasn't if the home flag is false or it doesn't have any value, and if it doesn't have a parent link. That is something that I've just invented. What is this parent link? It is kind of a flag that I'm passing here to the render template function as plink, in which before rendering a specific template, I'm saying the link to your parent or the link that I want you to go when you go back is this one, is tutors. Why tutors? Because it matches with the name of the function that retrieves as the tutors page. It's like I'm saying, when you go back, I want you to go back to the tutors root, okay? Then in the base, what I'm saying is, if I'm not in the home and I don't have a specific link to get back, so if I just have like if I don't have like a custom behavior when going back, then I will show this go back button that will redirect me to the home. If not, then I know that I'm in the case that I'm on the landing page or that my template received as a parameter a link to go back, okay? So here, when I go back to, when I open, for instance, the tutor HTML, basically what I do is to create the link to go back by myself within this template. And in this template, what do I use as the URL for? I use the link that I passed, that in this case had the tutors as a string. Okay, so I use this value to say the URL for, when I go back, the specified URL to what this link points, to which this link points is tutors, or the parameter that it received. Okay? So here, for instance, when I go back, it gets me back to tutors. Is clear the approach? Are you sure? Questions? Okay.
In this case, if we have another pages that have the inheritance, we must add on every page this type of parent link.
Yeah, if it goes, for instance, that you mean that I open this one here, and that here, I don't know, this one has courses, or something like that, or something that you open, and then you get back to the previous one. Yeah, it should, but the approach would be the same, no? Because, okay, I mean, it doesn't come to my mind an example, but if within there were like courses, then on courses, you would pass also this parent link, no? Just that you will pass this parent link pointing to this URL, so it gets back to a previous one, okay? Okay. Fine, so with this, we conclude the Flask theoretical part, and then you will have the labs in which you will apply this, what we have seen so far. Okay, before starting the new topic, I wanted to ask you a question. It is something that I'm also thinking of, but I wanted, at least with the people that come to the class, to get sure of, or to ask your opinion on this. I was thinking that maybe it would be useful and nice if I give you kind of a task, kind of a task, a homework, regarding the labs that you are implementing, no? So I was thinking like a challenge. So with the labs that you have been implementing so far, I would propose you, I don't know, something like you change drastically the layout of what we have been doing so far, something open so that each one has the freedom to create a completely different layout from the one that I've always been showing on the mockups. And this homework might become like something that you can submit, so that by submitting that, for instance, you get points on the final exam. So instead of giving you all of the grade in the final exam, maybe I can say, for instance, here with this specific submission, with this homework, you might earn, well, we can then decide, but for instance, 3 points on the final exam. I think it would be nice because at this point you already have the knowledge on CSS, and the only condition that I would give to this homework is that you have to create something drastically different from what I have done here. No? So that if, for instance, in the labs we have always been working with this very standard layout, the challenge or the homework or what I would ask you to do is to blow up this design and create something completely different. No? So instead of maybe showing the posts one below the other one, you are free to work with cards, you are free to work with a grid. I would give you such freedom. Also because I'm interested to see somehow to assert that you are able and proficient with CSS. I think it would make sense, and maybe we can I can give you also like one lab session so that you can work on the submission.
Are these points on top of the
No, not on top, but part of it.
Ah, okay.
And I was thinking, because I don't want to force anyone to do it, and I don't know how hard it is the semester for you right now, and if you have to submit anything else, so make it optional. So for the ones who want to work on that and submit that assignment, you get 3 points. The ones that can't or don't want to do the submission, don't earn anything, and then you get all of the grade at the end of just with the exam grade. So that I don't force anyone to work on that.
You will make some announcements, or either on the portal or the website?
No, because I'm just thinking on that, but I wanted first to somehow to communicate it with you and ask if you agree, if you think it's feasible to do something like that, or if it is difficult, if you would like to.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, nice.
Does it have a tutorial?
Does it have? Yeah, no, because I'm still thinking on that, because there will be a topic that has to do with the visual design of the websites. Okay, so my idea is that after that lesson on the visual design, you can apply what you learn on creating this super revolutionary interface done by yourself. Okay, so I have still to set it on the calendar, and I will communicate you. And the other part of this is Would you bother to do this in group? Not in group. Individually. Okay, I was expecting kind of that. No, in group is better because I can easily evaluate. It's easier for me to evaluate less submissions. It can be optional to do it in, yeah, but then, no, because it has to be all in group or all individually. Because if, for instance, you submit like one homework made by 5 people, I can't give you the same points because as someone who did it alone. No?
It has some type of specific to.
It has?
Some specific to follow.
Yeah. No, right now I'm just telling you the idea just to make sure that you are interested and it might be an option. But of course, if this become a reality, then I will write like the guidelines and the specificities and how to upload that. Yeah, but I'll think on that if we decide to make it work. Because no, maybe I'm in a mess with this proposal. Okay, I will also think on how to deploy that so that I can open all of the pages easily and evaluate them without having to open project by project and make it work. So maybe it will be just the HTML and the CSS without the Flask part. No? So something just concerning CSS and the visual appearance of the website. Okay, but the question was, does it sound good for you?
Yes.
Might be a good option? Okay, I'll think on that, and as soon as I have the ideas clearer, I will show it to you. Okay, so in the last 10 minutes, let's start with this topic. Okay, forms. We all know what forms are. In this presentation or for this topic, the idea is to understand how to integrate them into our HTML5 tags, how to validate the data that the user inserts into the forms, and of course, at some point, we will know how to deal with in Flask with the forms. Okay, so where are we with the forms? In our general architecture, where did we move? Or why do you think it has like both pinpoints on both sides, on the front end and in the back end?
Maybe it's something that connects the two.
Yeah, somehow connects the two, is related with the two components. But how do you think the forms might be connected to both components? Yeah, because it is sending data that the user inserts from the front end to the back end. Yeah, of course. And there is something else. Because there is involved also a validation process or a validation task, no? So it is not just about capturing data here. It is not just capturing data here, but also submitting to the back end and validating the data that comes from the front end in here, in the back end, okay? So in this topic, it's something that concerns both the back end and the front end. And also, because when I submit a form, what do I expect to get? Some response from the back end, no? Depending on the data that I've inserted. So far, our website, our web application, has no means to capture the interactions or the data inserted by the end user. By using forms, we will add that possibility. So let's start with the front end, and then we will move to the back end to see how to manage the data. Okay, this is always the HTTP protocol that we have already seen. What are the forms when we think of HTML? They are basically specific HTML elements through which the users are able to input data that can be sent to a server for processing. So it is for collecting data. It is commonly used in the user authentication. So it is when you log in or when you sign up. It is commonly used in the search functionality. And where else do you think we use forms? I mean, if I ask you to think of the visual, of the graphical elements that we are thinking of when we refer to forms in HTML, which ones come to your mind?
Registering an account.
Yeah, but the specific element, the graphical element that it is involved, for instance, in registering an account? The text box is the classical one. Sure, the text box where we insert the code. Which other one? The button, because I can't submit the. Typically, I don't submit the form until I click submit. Which other one? The checkbox. The checkbox, that is the one that is useful to say if a value is present or not. The drop-down menu, that is the one that selects from a predefined set of options. Are you familiar with the radio button, for instance? That is the one that, the difference with the checkbox, which one is it? That it has like, if you choose an option, then all of the other ones are excluded immediately. Instead, with the checkbox, you can select more than one function. Sure. But what if I say you, for instance, a spinner? You know which one is the spinner? The one that you can spin and by drag and drop. That one could be also an input. What if I say you, I don't know if you know the stepper buttons, that are the ones that you say plus, plus, minus, minus, just to set a specific value. Which one is that? The calendar. If you want to insert a date, then that is a specific type of input button. Okay? Now the question is, can you think of a website or a web application that doesn't use, a big or a representative web application that doesn't use forms? No. It's basically, without forms, it's not much what we can do. We can't do a registration, we can't do a reservation, we can't do anything because it's data that we need from the users. So from that point of view, the forms are fundamental. Okay, very conceptual from just for today. How will the forms look in the HTML? Basically as this. So we will have a specific HTML element that is called form. Here in action, let's say that it has like 3 specific attributes that we have to set for this element. One of them is the action that specifies the URL that will be responsible of dealing with the data that is submitted with the form. Okay? Just let's keep it conceptual, and then I will explain how does this work. It has the method that has to do with what you told me first. Up to now, we've been using just get, because as you have seen, we are getting things always from the server. No, we are getting the template, we are getting the tutors page, we are getting the tutor page, we are getting the landing page. So everything we are getting from the server. But there is also this post method. The default method in HTML and in HTTP is get. But there is also the post method that, as its name suggests, is for posting, for sending things to the server. Okay? So you will see that here, this function is important. And then we have an ID that is to identify the elements that will be within this form. Where do you think that I will place the input field, the text area, the button, and everything else? Everything will go within this form tag. Let me see if I have an example. just like this, okay? So I have the form action, and then I have the input, that in this case I'm expecting to have some text. It has a name, it has a placeholder. What do you think the placeholder is?
Just like in the box, it says this where we have to enter it.
Sure, like the hint that is shown in the text box to indicate what is the value that it is expecting to have, and go. And from here, what can we infer? That we have different kind of inputs. So for instance, this one is a number, and it is to represent the age. I can set the placeholder, and for this specific kind of type, I can also specify two more attributes that in this case is the mean and the max. Okay. So I'm expecting here to have a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 110. This one is, for instance, for the username, and we can also set a specific attribute to indicate what is the pattern that we want to receive, which characters are acceptable in this specific type. And this one, what do you think this one is for? For uploading a file. And in here, what do I specify? The extension. So which kind of files do I want to upload in the site? Okay, so for today, let's stop here, and then we will continue on this topic.